Hey everyone, we are back for another week of exciting rehearsals. This week we've talked with some of our hosts about their behind the scenes participation in the Rose Parade. We all know I love a parade. We also find out what made Jack say,
I do have to say, in that morning wearing a kilt, in that that morning temperature, I mean, it is something that was an interesting experience to say the least.
and why Beth said,
just saying, that's exactly what we do. So, feel free to message on a water break and I'll get you all of those details.
all this and more. So get out on the field and we will see you back on the sidelines for this week's episode of On a Water Break.
8 off the mat and go.
Welcome to On a Water Break, the podcast where we talk everything marching arts.
Everyone, bring it in.
It's time for a water break. Welcome to another episode of season 2 of On a Water Break, the podcast where we talk about everything you and your friends are talking about at rehearsal on a water break. I'm Jackie Brown. The Rose Parade was just a few short weeks ago, and we are lucky enough to have 3 of our hosts in attendance of the parade. But even better, they were all there for different reasons, and they had wildly different experiences. But I'll let them tell you that themselves. Okay, so let's see who's on the sideline this week. We have Stephanie.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited that you keep coming back more and more regularly.
I love it. I'm like a bad penny. I keep showing up.
But you're lucky. That's the catch there.
Yes, that's right.
And we have Beth.
Hello. I'm just like a featured guest host occasionally when I can pop in. But hey, here I am.
We love having segment. You when we get to have you, though.
Thank you.
And our newest host, it's Jack Goudreau. Hi.
Hey. I'm in from the West Coast, so a few hours behind, but it's good to see all my friends on the East Coast. I'm excited to talk about Rose Parade today. What an awesome experience.
Well, okay, so you have been on before, and we kind of were discussing this beforehand, but I don't think we got to do your 32 count life story, did we?
No, I don't think so. No.
So before we dive into all of this Rose Parade goodness, let's go ahead and do that. So what's going to happen is you're going to hear 8 off the Met, and then you have 32 counts to pack your entire life story, which is about 30 seconds. You just pack your entire life story in there. Tell us everything that has ever happened to you from birth until today.
All right. Let's get this going.
All right, let's do this.
All right. So basically, I'm from Northern California. I grew up in the Central Valley, Stockton, California. Went to high school at Lincoln High School, where I jumped into the marching arts as a parade drum major. From after high school, I won the state championship my senior year, and then took the same skill set that I had, and then jumped immediately into instructing, where I helped build some of the top Northern California parade groups for drum majoring. And now I'm currently competing in the Scottish circuit for pipe band drum majors. I'm the current national champion as well, too. How many more seconds do we got on that?
Hey, that's it right there.
Okay, good.
Nice job. So how many programs have you worked with now?
So as of right now in Northern California, I have more than 10 programs that I work with, each with roughly 10 to 15 students each. So it's kind of a monster, drum major movement we have going on in Northern California right now. And I'm excited to help be a catalyst for that. I mean, the students are the ones who are really pushing it, but it's nice to help give them the toolkit to really succeed and be successful student leaders at a high school level. So yeah, it's really fun.
So can you kind of describe a little bit more what exactly it is you do? Because some of our listeners may have never heard of this before, or they're just completely new. Some of them are even new to marching band. So Absolutely. There's that.
So the Western Coast style of marching band, you're either a field show band or you're a parade band. And parade band, it's based off of a military style parade group. So basically you have different blocks marching to military marches. And the drum major up front is largely responsible from leading the band from the beginning of the parade all the way to the end, or the parade zone, which is 450 feet. And there's a salute line roughly 250 feet in. So they are supposed to get the band from point A to point B and salute to the judges. And that's basically their main duty. But it's evolved over time to include lots of flourishing and whatnot to lead just not only be a part of the showmanship display of the band, but to also compete in individualized contests as well too, specifically for the drum major. So we have drum major judges who are part of the parade adjudication team, so they are placed as well too. So it's a really fun, competitive, and artistic element to the sport, and it's based on that foundation of the military style parade band. So that's just sort of a one all be all of what West Coast parade bands look like.
So you are specifically going in and training the drum majors of these groups then?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. In leadership as our foundation, and then that branches off into flourishing. We always say leadership is 90% of the activity, then the other 10%, the frosting on the top of the cake, is the flourishing aspect. Even though we spend hours upon hours perfecting our art form, it's really, really a focus on being the best leader that you can. And I find actually the best flourishing drum majors are the ones that have that solid understanding of leadership and a solid understanding of what they want to do with their program and take that group to the next level. Because that's how legacies are built in our style of a parade band here in the West Coast. So it's awesome. It's really fun to be that catalyst and help others learn to be a catalyst for their group. I
love that analogy of it being the frosting on the cake, because that's really like you can have a really nice looking cake with beautiful frosting and then cut into it and it be dry and crumbly and nasty on the inside. It's a miserable experience. But if you have a nice cake with a solid, I've been baking all morning, so. Okay. So
you see where that obsession is coming from. Yeah. But yes, I completely agree. Having that foundation of excellence and leadership is really a platform that is necessary to become a successful flourisher, because it makes you a regimented person and it gets you focused on how you want to be better for your band, and that eventually bleeds into how you look in a flourishing competition as well too.
I'm really excited to kind of be showing a different side of the band.
Great job, everyone. Set your equipment down. Gush and go.
All right, let's get to our gush and goes. Stephanie, let's start off with you.
Well, I'm in Texas, and the whole state has just stopped. We are freezing weather, so all of my friends trying to do their indoor rehearsals for guard or winds or drumline, what have you. Literally, the world has stopped. We set a record low temperature in Houston today of 18 degrees. So we were out of school, not because of snow or precipitation. We were out of school because it's cold.
So different from the West Coast.
So different, yes, so different. But so we're back. We're going to try it again tomorrow. But literally, we are all frozen in. So check on your Texas friends.
Yeah, I'll go next. That's Beth. And yeah, Stephanie, God bless you. I know. And I'm in the Northeast, and I'm used to it, quote unquote. And we're all miserable. It's okay.
Yeah.
You don't get used to it, really. Yeah, but anyway, so yeah, we got our first significant snowfall in a few years, so we were pretty excited. And schools are closed, so kids are super excited. They actually have an actual snow day, not a virtual snow day. So
right.
But I don't know. I think I'm just excited for the new year. We had that big trip to the Tournament of Roses parade, which we'll talk about, I'm sure. But I work for Peak Group Travel, and we do performance tours for bands and choirs and orchestras and marching bands. And I'm excited because we have a lot of groups that are looking to do some big parades, both domestic and international, in terms of New Year's Day parade in London, St. Patrick's Day parade in Dublin. So we've got some, I'm excited to see where some of these bands go and how they represent the United States overseas and in some big events. So stay tuned.
I had just you mentioned international travel. I just heard that my alma mater is going to the St. Patrick's Day parade in Dublin. I'm not sure this year or next year, but I just heard about it and I was like, what? That's so exciting.
It's a thing.
How do I get on board with that? Can we do an alumni band out there too?
You call me and I will set up an alumni tour that would accompany the band to Ireland. Just saying, that's exactly what we do. So, feel free to message on a water break and I'll get you all of those details.
Okay, Jack, so you kind of see how we do our gush and goes. What would you like to gush and go on about today?
So one of the things that I'd like to gush and go on, first off, the temperature is a balmy 60 degrees here in the Bay Area.
Blah, blah.
The lovely weather report for today. I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see how we're gonna take on the winter season here. And one of the things that I'm really excited to gush about is specifically the winter season that we have prepped. So I'm currently about ready to jump into rehearsals for our Northern California drum majors, who are going to be competing in L Pattern, which is an individualized band competition where drum majors march and show off their flourishing skills in I guess the parallel would be winter color guard. So they're given 150 feet by 70 feet to compete in this competition format. So we're building routines right now and really getting ready for that winter competition because it gets really, really competitive in the upper division. So that's what I've really been focused on here. So I'm really excited about that.
It's going to be so awesome, Jack. I can't wait for you to teach us all of your ways here with this drum major stuff, because it's so different from what we do.
It is. It's so interesting.
It's its own little bubble for sure. It's like it's so funny, like trying to explain it because it's such it's grown into such a regional thing. And I just got back from judges training in Southern California with my Southern California counterparts, and we're beginning to look on how we can include more drum majors in and around the globe. We've been talking to, I don't know if you've heard of Drum Major Leadership Academy, DMLA.
Yes.
We're actually in active conversations to really make sure that everyone's included in our art form and that we can really solidify the drum major art form on a national level. So it's exciting to begin to bring in more voices into the conversation, because our goal as drum majors is we want to include everyone as much as possible.
That's like goosebumpy time. I love that. That's the good stuff.
Josh Hetch, right? Yeah, he's an awesome person, and we're super excited to be collaborating with them. So fingers crossed, some exciting moments in the near future.
See, we're on the best episode ever. We get all the inside scoop. I love it.
And the like preview of things to come.
Right? We're at the cusp of drum majoring exploding from the West Coast to the East. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, really exciting, especially for conductors too, because I'm really excited to see how that art form is going to evolve once we integrate across the United States and seeing different perspectives brought together in a competition format. I mean, I love that concept because we're going to see firsthand what the future of our art form is going to look like, and how integrated it's going to be across. It's really exciting.
That's so cool. I want to gush about something. Like I think I may have started gushing about this a couple weeks ago as well, but if you haven't heard, the Spintronics group is putting together an alumni guard for the Buck Nelson parade, for the Buck Nelson Festival, which is here in Mountain View, Missouri. And I'm really excited about this. I just want to gush because we have had people like messaging and registering, and I really want to have a big group. So I'm very excited for people to be coming on. It doesn't cost anything for people to join in with us. We're going to be spinning an easy routine in the parade with light up flagpoles, and it's the day of the eclipse. Yeah, and we're awesome. In the path of the eclipse. So you're gonna come here, the people are coming here, watch the eclipse, and then after that, that afternoon is into the evening is the parade, and it's dark out. So we're gonna have our light up poles and be spinning these poles. And the flags are gorgeous. If you haven't seen them, check out my social media at Spintronics Guard. They have a giant eclipse picture on them, and they're made by Show Day Designs. And
you need to have Eclipse, the Winter Guard, be the special guest in the parade. March with you.
They're invited. Everyone's invited. I call it an alumni guard, but it's not just Spintronics alumni. It's literally anybody who's been in guard. And it's kind of cool because our local school here, there was a point in time when I was super in touch with several alumni in the local school when I was a student. And now that I haven't had touch with them for a long time, and now some of them are even coming back and being like, hey, I've not been involved with Spintronics because I live 10 hours away or whatever, but can I come and do the parade? Like, I went to high school there and was in the Guard. And I'm like, yes, please. So we have some like alumni who are in like their 50s and their 60s who are going to come back and spin with us in this parade. So it's amazing. Then we have like some really recent alumni too.
Our joints do still work in the 50s. I just wanted to throw that out there. Throwing that out there.
I believe you. However,
I mean, you don't want me spinning anything, but
Hey, it's called Gush and Go, not Gush and Stay. Let's go.
okay, everyone, get the glue, get the rose petals, and dried beans. We need to get this banner decorated for the parade. We'll be right back with everybody's stories of the Rose Parade.
Hey, this is Christine Ream.
And Chris Green.
Guard Closet was founded as a consignment business in 2000. Since then, it has grown to include winter guard, band, percussion, and other genres.
We can help you with custom flag and costuming designs.
Our consignment inventory has plenty of great looks for your color guard, drumline, and marching band.
Pay it forward. When you purchase consignment, you help other programs. Last year, we sold over 400 sets of consignments and returned over $125,000 in payments to our consigners for their sales.
Additionally, Guard Closet offers custom and pre-designed costumes, flags, floors, and formal wear, full or partial show writing, educational programming, and other services.
Max out your rehearsal time and set up a microsite for easy student ordering for shoes, gloves, and other equipment.
The Guard Closet team is here to help you get everything you want and need for your season. Check us out at guardcloset.com and follow us on social media.
Okay, now that we have the parade formation figured out, let's talk Rose Parade. Who wants to jump in first?
Well, this is Beth, and I think I will jump in first because this was not my first time, but my second time with a group at the Tournament of Roses Parade, which is what they like to call it, the TOR, if you will. And it didn't disappoint. Again, fortunately, with my company, with Peak, we were able to coordinate a Friends Family alumni tour for one of the participating bands. So Westchester University was a band that participated in the parade, and they had the distinction of being the first Division II school from Pennsylvania to represent the state in the parade, which was a pretty big deal. But we coordinated the trip for their Friends Family alumni, anybody that wanted to see what Westchester did. And Westchester also was a groundbreaking performance this year because they actually created what they described it as a marching float. So they took the concept of the Tournament of Roses in terms of the all natural products that all of the floats use in the Tournament of Roses parade. And then they created their front banner as well as some other moving float parts out of all natural products. So like the seal of the university, the official seal, was all done in purple status and rice. And they had these boxes, and they had these huge banner flags that had this, I think there were 20 or 30 of them that had scenes from the Delaware Valley, which is where Westchester is. And it had Valley Forge and the Love statue and the Rocky statue. And they played the theme for Rocky. And they were the first band ever in the 135 years of the parade to actually take the all natural product concept and apply it to the band. So it was groundbreaking, and it was super exciting to see that as it came down the street, and we had 320 Friends Family alumni there to support the band in the stands. And it was right after TV turn. And if you know anything about the parade, there's this big 110 degree turn that they have to take, right? And we were just after the turn. So we got to see the band in full once they've completed the turn, as their first completion down the street. It was remarkable. I was very fortunate, even though we had to be there at dark 30 so that you could be in the stands at the right time, because you can't get there too late. Mm-hmm. And the parade, it is televised, right, Stephanie? I mean, you got to be there, and you're going to be on TV, or at least you think you might be anyway.
Right.
But it was super cool to be a part of that. There was a lot of planning. Over a year's worth of planning goes into getting a band down Colorado Boulevard in Pasadena. And there were bands there from Costa Rica. There was bands from Hawaii, Japan, the Marine Band, local bands, the two participating schools in the Rose Bowl, the football game, which I know we're in band, but there was a football game that happened that day too.
What?
And those two schools happened to be there too, Michigan and Alabama. And if you're a Penn State fan like me, it was hard to root for either one of them. But their bands were also in the parade. And of course, all of the beautiful, elaborate floats. It is extraordinary what people can do with rice and beans and flowers and status and moss and, anything that's natural and actually turn it into works of art, moving works of art. And that's what they really are. And it just, I don't know, it just blows my mind. But, and of course we had a lot of organization. I was frankly a little tired of the Tournament of Roses by the time I sat my keister in the stands to watch the parade. But you forget all of that as soon as the parade starts, and Audra McDonald was the Grand Marshal. And, the theme of this year's parade was a world of music, celebrating a world of music, the universal language. And to think that music was the theme made it just a little bit sweeter for those of us that are in the marching arts, knowing that was the focus of this year's parade anyway. And too, especially when you plan something like that for a group, that every person in that parade also did all of that planning too.
Right.
They were selling candy bars and wrapping paper and popcorn and anything they could in order to get the money they needed to march down Colorado Boulevard that day. And, they didn't come from just around the corner, coming from Japan and Costa Rica was a huge endeavor for a lot of them. So it wasn't lost on the crowd. And I would be lying if I said my eyes were dry when Westchester came down the street. There was a bit of a tear, a bit of sense of pride, having been a drum major myself in that unit. But to see them make that kind of history with 360 people, and they had alumni march in the parade too, because of those extra elements that they had. They actually recruited some alumni to march in the parade.
What was their show? What was their production like? Like you keep talking about the extra elements and stuff. Like what exactly were they doing?
Well, they had these boxes that had Westchester WCU on one side, and the iconic love statue, that font of the LOVE. Those were done in rose petals and corn. They had a banner of Independence Hall that they made out of corn and rice and beans and
so were they just
they designed. They were these moving. And they had them on dollies, so they had to push them down the road. They were actually moving floats. They were mini floats, if you will.
Okay.
That each of these people got to push, down the street.
That's a whole other dimension. Did Stephanie or Jack? Did you guys see it? Did you get to see what?
Oh yeah,
did?
Absolutely. I marched in front of the Pipes on Parade, the Mass Pipes and Drums. So. One of the reasons why I loved this year's Rose Parade theme so much is because it really brought together an international group of performers. And really, we got to see sort of a broad paintbrush of what everything looks like from around the world in regards to music. And I thought that was the best part. And going back to what you were saying, Beth, about the floats, I feel like the floats really helped embody that. And it was crazy. So when we halfway through our rehearsals, we had the opportunity to go backstage and see the actual floats, and seeing everyone work the meticulous detail, such as placing a bean in a certain orientation so that the white dot on the front of it doesn't show, and doing that thousands of times to cover a 20-foot long, 20-foot long float. That's such an amazing, how do you describe it? Sense of detail that hundreds of people every year, they always come back to do this. And I think that's what some of the magic of the Rose Parade. Another reason why the Rose Parade was really magical for me, going back to the main theme of the parade, was the fact that our group, the Pipes on Parade, brought in performers from around the globe. So individuals from Australia, Northern Ireland, the rest of the UK, and then even pipers and drummers from around the United States to be a part of this group. We really got to unify from around the world, and I thought that was probably the coolest thing. Oh, we also had a lot of pipers from Canada as well too. Don't want to leave those guys out. It's off right now too. If it's cold in the U.S., probably cold up there too.
I would imagine.
Yeah. So being able to meet people from the international stage again was probably the golden takeaway for me. And I'll always remember we were 10th in line in regards to the order of the parade. And I remember marching around that corner. I mean, that corner is a little bit dicey sometimes because of that angle. But we as drum majors, so we had 11 drum majors in total, one for each rank. And we did a pinwheel turn. So that's basically an arc turn, hugging the corner and then opening up the block as we make that full turn. And I remember that was probably the most nervous part of the parade. And then once you get past that turn, everything's just all perfect, straight down the way. And that one of the coolest things that I'll always remember is getting the opportunity to flourish out in front of the parade after the TV zone, and just seeing for literal miles on either side of the sidewalk. There's no hole in that sidewalk. There are people filling up the entirety of the road. And that was just magical to see, and seeing people having an amazing time and all joining together as a big community. I mean, like that's what we do this for, right? I mean, it's absolutely outstanding. Stephanie, how was it? How was it for you?
It was really great. I have never been to the Rose Parade in person, but it is a parade that even as a little girl, I don't know if I've missed one in years and years. It is just a must see. My mom is the person that has a green thumb. Her backyard looks like it's out of a magazine. She's the person that can come to my house and bring all the dead plants back to life. So even as a little girl, we always watched the Rose Parade, and you cannot take in from television how vast these floats are.
Yes.
It's absolutely, like, you really have to see it in person. It's just beautiful. And like you said, the amount of detail is just, I'm speechless, and I never am, about how there are not enough adjectives to describe how beautiful and intricate these floats are. From a band perspective, as you all were talking about with Westchester and that type thing, I came back with my note thing in my phone filled with all of these things that I ran straight to my band director and said, we have to do the Rose Parade, and here are all the things we're going to do. It was like one little cool thing that each band did that I was like, well, this is genius. Why are we not, using banners down the field? Why are we not doing, kind of rolling props, that type of thing? But just the variety of the bands, it didn't matter, even if you're not a float person, if you're a band person, just seeing the variety of the international units versus, the units from the Midwest and the West Coast units versus the East Coast units. There was no way that you could sit there and not be entertained.
Absolutely. It was super exciting. And I have to say, because we bought our seats, a year ahead, we were able to sit pretty high, almost to the top of the grandstands, which was great because you get this great view down the street. And it was funny, last year I interviewed Jack for On a Water Break, and we had a great conversation about flourishing and about what he does and West Coast drum majoring and mass pipe bands. And when I saw his band come around the corner, but this was before Westchester, I was like, wait. Jack's in that band. I know he's in that band. Jack's got to be in that band because why? I mean, how many other pipe bands are going to be in the Rose Parade? He's on the West Coast. It's got to be him, right? And I got so excited. And now today I get to chat with him about it and tell him how great it was. And it was really, I think for those of us that are not well versed in pipe bands, maybe they might have a preconceived notion about what a bagpipe might sound like. But when you hear it coming down the street, it was so much more than just the drone that you're used to hearing, that under drone. There's so much more. It's so beautiful. And the colors of all the uniforms and the pageantry of it and the flourishing that the drum majors are doing. It was goosebump worthy. It really was. And Jack,
I loved it.
Yes. Right. I'm not saying that just because you're on the call. On this episode, it was so good to see and that added to that whole different dimension of styles and things, and the Costa Rica band, holy crap, they were dancing. They literally were salsa dancing as they were marching. And I'm like, I can't just dance in place in a ballroom, let alone 6.5 miles worth of dancing down Colorado Boulevard to Pasadena on New Year's Day. So bravo.
I would definitely agree. So I'm very happy that we weren't dancing for the 6.5 hours. I did not know how the Japan band and then the Costa Rica band did it. They are champions for that.
Yes,
absolutely.
But it was such a perfect day to have a parade. I mean, I was kind of worried about the weather because in BandFest, so it worked out for BandFest too. I don't know, did you guys go to BandFest?
I wasn't there.
I did. Yeah, we saw Westchester do BandFest too.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so BandFest, if our listeners don't understand, it's basically a sort of a display before the actual parade. It's 2 days before the parade, and it's basically like a miniature field show, a miniature field display. And so just to sort of give you guys a layout, since we were an international group and we were pulling from around the Commonwealth performers, we had only a total of 7 hours to get everything together and perform it. So we were working nonstop to make sure that we were the best, that we were the best that we could be. And I have to say, I am so proud of the Piper units, as well as my fellow drum majors, to see.
That's crazy.
To see on a time crunch, us basically learn formations, learn a flourishing routine, learn, I think it was 3 or 4 sets of new music, and integrate it together. That's the ball moving, right? So it was a chore and a half, but I really have to thank our senior drum major, Kevin Conquest, and pipe major, Joel Daniels, for really making sure that platform for success was there for all of us to really just hit the ground running and go. And
that's amazing.
Everyone really put their all into those practices. And I had the opportunity to head the flourishing section of the Rose Parade display for BandFest. So that was an honor to be able to work with drum majors from around the globe and join together in a single performance. If you go look it up, there's some videos from BandFest. I highly suggest it if you guys are wondering what the flourishing art form is about. It's more of this was more of a fun display, but it's also just interesting to just look at it from a fresh perspective. And the BandFest performance of the mass pipes and drums is really an awesome set. We actually formed a thistle, the Scottish thistle, for our march.
Wow.
So we basically went from ranks and files into a Scottish thistle for half of the show. So that was really difficult to work it out, but we got it working and we nailed it. We peaked our performance on our BandFest performance.
That's fantastic. And BandFest for the other bands that don't like your band. Yeah, obviously your band gets together just for this performance. Like it's not like you guys practice together all the time. The Hawaii band was also an honors band. They had never played together until they got to California. So they were kids from all over the state that came together, and their first performance was at BandFest together. Like that was it. That was the first time they did it.
I didn't realize that either. I didn't know that part. Wow.
That was the Hawaii band. But like the other bands like Westchester and a couple of the William Mason from Ohio and the Indiana bands, when they came to BandFest, they just did their halftime show, which is what they had been practicing all fall. So for them, it was kind of like their swan song. It was their last performance of their halftime show for the year was at BandFest. Right. And they have to break BandFest into 3 different sections because there's so many bands. So some do like the afternoon of the 29th, and then there's the morning of the 30th and the afternoon of the 30th. So like they literally have 3 different, basically it's like for those on the East Coast, like a cavalcade or a band BOA competition. It's that style where they come on and they perform their halftime show. And then they give you a preview of what they're going to do in the parade. They do a track march. They get into their parade block. And then that's how they exit the stadium at Pasadena City College. And they do this every year. And that's why Tournament of Roses is so much bigger than even just millions of people watching you on New Year's Day. It's actually... it's a week of events. It's a week of being in Pasadena and experiencing it. It was wonderful. And this year there was a break in the parade. Jack, I'm sure you noticed when you had to pause. Did you notice you had to stop for a little bit?
Yeah, we did.
Why?
Was there a protest, if I remember correctly?
Protesters in Pasadena that were trying to take advantage of the stage. And so there was this pause in the middle of the parade, and there was an announcer that came on and said, "The parade will continue in approximately 5 minutes. Please stay tuned."
I didn't know that.
Wow.
Yes.
My husband and I, we were like, "Oh, a float must have broken down."
No, those marshals were getting some ne'er-do-wells out of the way so we could keep up on our parade. So yeah, it was pretty crazy. Everyone doesn't, unfortunately, not everybody gets to watch each other in the parade, which I think is probably the only drawback if you are in the parade. You don't get to see the parade until afterwards. Maybe if you've maybe recorded it. Or KTLA has what they call band cam, and it's the California affiliate that broadcasts the parade. So I always tell people, skip the major networks on New Year's Day, stream KTLA band cam. If you want to hear all bands and no chatter, that's the best way to watch the parade, is what I tell people. I'm sure the advertisers would hate me for that, but I'm telling you, as a band fan, because that's what this podcast is about. KTLA every year, they just do band cam, and so you get much more footage of each band in different angles and everything. So that's super cool too. But it was an extraordinary, and the weather was spectacular. Yeah, it was cold when we first got there, but the sun comes up over the mountains and warms that parade route up, and it was a lovely day for a parade. Not gonna lie,
it was beautiful.
It was, yeah, and I do have to say, that morning wearing a kilt, in that morning temperature, I mean, it is something that was an interesting experience to say the least. But once that sun kicked over the Pasadena skyline, I mean, it was a beautiful day. It was. I'm so fortunate for my first time to march that parade, for it to be a nice, beautiful, straight shot. It
was
today, right?
So, Stephanie, what brought you to the parade? I mean, you said you were a fan, but what got you there? What kids were in there?
Both of my kids march in the band at University of Alabama. And so
that's amazing.
Yes, and so
that's awesome.
It was just an opportunity. They marched drum corps, but they marched 2 different drum corps, and so really college band is our only time as parents to get to see them perform together. And we went back and forth 1,000 times about, do we go, do we not? Do we go, do we not? And so finally, 2 days before, 48 hours before, we said, you know what? We have airline miles, we have hotel miles, we're going to go.
Good for you.
Yeah.
We did some fast research on how to buy grandstand tickets and Amazon ordering our seat cushions to get here before we left.
I'm telling you, it's crazy.
Now, we did not, the cheapest ticket to watch the football game was like $1,200 a piece. Mm-hmm. So we were like, we can't do the game. But we flew in actually the day of Band Fest, and so we missed that. But the very day we landed, which I guess was the 30th, University of Alabama did a pep rally in Disneyland with the band, the guard, the cheerleaders were there. And so the band got to spend the majority of the day in Disneyland, which I thought was really cool. And so did they. So we went to the pep rally, and then we went to the parade and had great grandstand seats. After you make the turn, you kind of go down a hill, and we were at the bottom of that hill. In a section of grandstands that were really low. There were maybe 6 or 7 rows high. And so we had great seats. But so we did that. And then we went to Float Fest after the parade.
Did you?
We did. Oh. And so if you don't know what Float Fest is, which I did not previously, it is where they take all the floats and park them after the parade. And you can literally get so close that you can touch these floats. So you really get to see really firsthand. And they have volunteers that are there. And so you can ask questions and they'll tell you different things. So we did Float Fest as well. But I was brought to the parade by my kids. But I was going to tell a story based on something you all were saying. Is and I'm sure I'll get judgment on this, but we have Life 360 on our kids. And I'm not tracking them around college. I'm not that helicopter of a mom. But they are at college 15 hours from home, and they're driving to indoor practice. My son drives 4 hours each way. for his indoor percussion group. And so for me, it's just peace of mind when they're on the road that I can see they got there, I can see their back. Anyway, that's not this podcast. But we could figure out where they were lined up prior to the parade starting. So it was fun to walk through because we have several friends that are in different bands. And so we wanted to be able to say hello. And it was so funny because they had warming blankets for these kids, and those poor kids from Hawaii. It was a chilly morning.
Yeah,
but
it was.
and it got warmer like as the sun came up. But, we were there at like 5:30. We were parked. And those poor kids from Hawaii in those warming blankets. I felt so sorry for them.
They had those skimpy little uniforms too.
They did. And my daughter's in the Guard at Alabama, and they have those little sequin dresses. They're just cute as a button, so Southern.
They're adorable. I thought about them too, though. I was like, that can't be warm.
No, and I have the sweetest little pictures of, the brother sister pictures, and my daughter, and like her lips are blue. She's frozen. I was like, well, when you start marching that 5.5 miles, you're gonna warm right up. You'll be fine.
Yeah, no, I can agree that we definitely, the Scottish drum majors definitely bit the bullet on that when we saw those blankets getting passed out, and we took a hard pass on those. So.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, you stoic Scottish marching kilt wearing guys. Okay.
Oh my gosh. It's wild to think. And what time in the morning do you guys have to line up?
What time did you have to line up, Jack?
It was like, oh gosh. So we got up at we had to get up at 3, and then we were on a bus, and then I'd say around 4:30-ish, 4:30, 5 o'clock.
Yeah, they have it dialed in pretty good at Tournament of Roses too. Like in terms of if you're in a performing unit, how far in your bus can get versus if you've got buses for a group like what I had that's just in attendance to watch. Then your buses can only get so far, and they park you a certain distance away, and you have times that you're allowed to get there. And they tell groups like us that we had to be parked by 6:30 in the morning. The parade starts at 8. You have to be in your seats by 8, but you have to walk about 10 minutes from where the buses drop you off to where your seats are. But the bands that are participating have to be there even earlier. And we stayed down closer to LA, so we left the hotel at 4:30 in the morning. Which, when you're not marching in the parade, trying to convince those moms and dads and brothers and sisters that's an okay. You have to do that early. Yeah. They were bleary eyed, but I said, just sleep on the bus until we get there. They'll be fine. Yeah. They'll be fine. So, it's a long, it can be a long day.
It's been a while, but these stories are making me nostalgic and reminiscing. It's been a while since I've been to the Rose Parade, so I'm kind of actually, I think it's been over 10 years now. I went to the 2013 Tournament of Roses Parade. So, yeah, super nostalgic for that. But let's go ahead and wrap it up and take it back out on the field. Then we'll be right back for the news.
Hey everyone, I'm Lexi Duda, and I'm the host of On a Water Break in Rhinestones. I've grown up a competitive baton twirler, winning numerous world titles, and now I'm a coach. I want to bring to you stories from twirlers from all over. So grab a water break, listen in, because you won't want to miss some of these incredible experiences these twirlers have had. All of this coming up and more on a Water Break in Rhinestones.
Everybody, come on over here and grab some grass to have a seat. It is time for the news. All right, I am going to start it off today because I'm so excited about this. I just found out about it. I don't know how. This was released back in July of last year. So this is old news, but I just found out the Sky Riders are coming back. They are bringing marching bands to Kansas. I'm so excited. This is it's not very far from where I live. I say not very far. It's 6 hours, but I live in the Midwest. So that's whatever. It's close. But yeah, so this drum corps is one that has been around since 1952, I'm pretty sure. And They were around for 35 years. They're in Hutchinson, Kansas, which is like the middle of nowhere. It's a very small town. And it's so small, they decided to relocate to DeSoto, Texas for a little while. But they folded in 1994. And then while I was marching at Blue Stars, the Skywriters Alumni Association actually started a scholarship program for people who marched Blue Stars.
Wow.
I've never been a recipient of the scholarship or anything like that, but I just thought it was amazing that they did this scholarship program, and being a Blue Star alumni myself. And also, like I said, the Skywriters being so close to home, it's literally was probably the second closest drum corps to my physical location. And yeah, I'm just so excited that they're coming back and they're going to be bringing people and having a drum corps again. Like, we're coming back to Kansas. And I'm literally just today was talking to someone about having a Spintronics color guard clinic out in Hutchinson, Kansas next summer. So,
synergy.
A lot of stuff to look out for over in Kansas.
Who knew? Who knew Kansas was going to be the future hotbed of drum corps and guard?
Right?
That's where it's at, Hutchinson, Kansas.
Well, I think our listenership must just expanded now. Now we've got Kansas covered.
That's right.
Fantastic.
Stephanie, do you want to go ahead and do your story next?
Sure. So today, Music for All released their 2024 award recipients for advocacy and action. And this is where they break down. It's actually in several categories. It's really interesting, but I want to point out a couple of things that, especially if you are a staff member, if you are a parent and you're booster and you're listening to this, that I just want you to take note of. So they have community involvement, decision maker engagement, elementary excellence, but there are some key categories that I want you to look at maybe a different way. One of them is innovative fundraising, and then it lists the award recipients. They actually have 4. There was the Canstock Music Festival, Golden Regiment's Fire Superstore, a golf tournament, and then a painted fiddle project. You can actually look into these and you may be able to find a fundraiser that will work for your organization, no matter what it is. Look at what these other people are doing. You don't have to reinvent the wheel because these are tried and true if they won the award. And then the other one is they also have a category for marketing and promotion. So if you need to get the word out about your group, take a look at what these people did. And then the parent and booster support, there were 3 volunteers, or not 3 volunteers, there were 3 awards for that, and student recruitment and engagement. I always take a look at these, and then you're not stealing people's ideas. You're just taking what they've done and it works and adapt it to your program. So that came out today. Take a look at that. There's some really cool things on this list.
All right. I'm here this week to bring one of the more memeable moments in the marching band world. So let's take ourselves to Texas Southern University, where we found a little clip this week where we have an amazing tuba player just laying down the beat with the rest of the low brass section. And there's this heckler who's just harassing this guy while he's performing. So in response to being majorly harassed, this tuba player turns, stops for 2 measures, and I kid you not, in those two measures, throws 2 punches that clears this guy halfway across the stands, and he just picks up and keeps on going like the champs that he is. So remember, guys, if you're gonna mess with the low brass section, just know what might be the outcome. All right, guys.
You better be ready to take one.
Know what you're risking.
It's so funny. It's so funny.
Oh my God, Jack! I don't even know how to follow that, but yeah. So, so I want to make sure everybody knows about something called Drumline Live. It's an international tour that's literally going around the multi countries, based on HBCU marching band tradition, and they've got rhythm and bold beats and ear-grabbing energy, and it's a stage show that you can attend. So you want to hit the website drumlinelive.com, and they've got tickets, they've got shows coming up. This month, they've got stuff coming up in Baltimore and Greenville and Wilkesboro, North Carolina, and Florida, Montana. They're going to Billings, Montana in February, bringing HBCU beats. So Drumline Live, check out their website. They've got some really cool shows coming up, and I think you would be sad if you missed it.
That's going to be super fun. Oh my gosh, I love when Montana gets involved. I don't know what I love about Montana because I've only ever ridden a train across it before, but.
Yeah, I think I've only flown over it.
Well, I have a really inspirational story. This is actually a follow-up story to one we did back in April of 2023. So there was a student in North Kansas City named Ralph Yarl. He had been shot after mistakenly going to the wrong house. We kind of just sort of touched on this before, informed about it. We didn't have tons and tons of information, but I will say he was shot, he was injured, and he has recovered. And he was just named to the Missouri All-State Band. Woo.
Yes.
That is so heartwarming.
Well deserved.
It is. I'm so glad. He's a clarinet player, which there's a lot of clarinet players. So he had some tough competition for this. And he was the second chair bass clarinet, and he's going to play at the MMEA annual conference this month. He's coming up here soon at the conference here in January. So I'm not biased as a clarinet player that did district band on bass clarinet, but I will say that I think it's remarkable, that he was able to overcome such a tragedy and flourish. What a great story.
And music as a healing remedy as well too. Being able to come back to music after that experience really just sort of shows us that music can heal all as well too, which is awesome.
Absolutely, yes.
You are so right, Jack. Absolutely,
definitely. Well, Beth, do you want to wrap up with the last story for today?
Yeah, and although some people might say the mummers should never be last when we talk about anything that has to do parades, but welcome to Southeastern Pennsylvania, Philadelphia. Yes, the Tournament of Roses parade happens on New Year's Day, but so does the Mummers Parade in Philadelphia. And I'm just going to give you a couple of the results from this year's parade. We did a huge episode on this last year, so go back into our archive and subscribe and find this one because there was some really cool information there. But there's different divisions of different types of bands. There's string bands, there's fancy brigades. But this year in the string band division, the top 5 in 5th place was Avalon. In 4th place was Woodland. 3rd place was Freilinger. 2nd place was Quaker City. And in 1st place, the South Philadelphia string band. The string band captain that won was Cade Radcliffe from Uptown. In the Fancy Brigade division, in 5th was the Downtowners, and 4th was the Spartans. 3rd was Saturnalian. 2nd was Shooting Stars, and the Fancy Brigade winners this year were the South Philly Vikings. And the best Fancy Brigade captain was Thomas Doherty from Saturnalian. The Wench Brigade, yes, it's called the Wench Brigade. There was 5th place was Bryson, 4th place was Oregon, 3rd place O'Malley, 2 Cara Leom, and in 1st place American. Westside Shipping won the comic division, and there's so many more people that are committed to this whole project. And I would be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to our producer, Jeremy, who was super involved with the Greater Kensington String Band. And he might be frustrated with their results this year, but as we all know, it's never always a clean system when you've got judges and people involved. But anyway, but they represented and did a stunning performance. And if you get a chance to YouTube any of those performances from any of the string bands, I would highly encourage you to do so. There's, in the same way that there's so much work that goes into those Tournament of Roses floats, the detail into these parade costumes for the mummers is extraordinary as well. And these people commit an entire year of their lives to designing the next year. They're already working on next year's show. Even before this year's was launched, before they even march on January 1st, they're already thinking about the next one. So,
yeah,
I feel that's like how things roll in the marching arts. All right,
yeah,
everybody.
It never stops.
Thank you.
It never stops.
Thank you so much for a great rehearsal this week. Thank you to our hosts, Stephanie and Beth. And Jack, what are your socials? We need to get those down.
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram. You just go to Goudreau _, so GOUDREAU _. I'm also on Facebook as well too. So just look up the name Jack Goudreau, GOUDREAU.
I am going to go follow you. I would also like to give a shout out to our followers who have been listening to us live over on our Instagram as we record today. Elise Breen and the Calendar Fundraiser. So thank you guys for listening in and leaving comments. And come listen to us whenever we're live, because we're at On a Water Break and it's pretty cool. Go subscribe, write us a review, and share this with a friend. Make sure you follow us on all of our social media at On a Water Break, and we'll see you at the next rehearsal on a water break.
Go practice.
The On a Water Break podcast was produced by Jeremy Williams and Christine Ream. The intro and outro music was produced by Josh Lyda. To learn more, visit lydamusic.com. And until next time, thanks for tuning in.